The real trick is if you eat in a caloric deficit, meaning you are eating less than you were on an average day. Hey guys, it's Nick with Smithforgedsc Strength and Conditioning. Today we are going to talk about macros. So I get questioned a lot about nutrition and what's the best way to lose weight or what's the best way to gain muscle. And the truth is, like, most diets aren't very successful. So there's a lot of different things out there. You have your keto diet, you have your Atkins diet, you have people who are like, oh, I'm low carb or I'm paleo, whatever it may be. And when it boils down to it, and I'm no expert in nutrition, believe me, but I've been around this stuff enough to kind of at least guide people in the right direction, or at least know the resources of who to look up, or if you guys want to search it out for yourself. This is just more of like a guide, a little basic intro. So for those out there who have trained with me before, or they've asked me in the past, most of you know that I follow what you would call if it fits your macros, or just I count macros essentially. So some people count calories, and that's another simple way of doing it. This is a little bit more precise, and so this follows more of science in the way that we talk about energy. So to put it simply, a macro or a macronutrient consists of carbohydrates, protein, and fats. And then on top of that, alcohol is another macro that we'll talk about later. So each one of those macronutrients happens to have a specific energy value. So for example, 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carbohydrate both possess 4 calories. 1 gram of fat consists of 9 calories, and 1 gram of alcohol consists of 7 calories. So depending on if you're counting calories or macros, it should add up. So say your resting metabolic rate, or whatever you're allowed to eat for the day, consists of 2,500 calories. There is some resources out there that can kind of allocate how much carbs, fat, and protein you should be consuming, and each one of those should add up to your 2,500 calorie count for the day. So depending on what your goals are, if you're trying to gain weight, if you were trying to lose weight, your macros and your overall caloric intake is going to change. Now, the interesting part about this is there's no real trick when it comes to losing or gaining weight. If you want to lose weight, you need to go into a caloric deficit. Caloric deficit means that you are eating less than what you were eating prior. So let's say if you started tracking your calories for the week and you're averaging about 3,000 calories a day, okay? And you were to go into a caloric deficit and you were gonna reduce that caloric number to 2,500 calories, that means you'd be eating 500 calories less a day. For the whole week, that means you would lose 1 pound if all other variables are controlled, including your exercise, whatever else. So that means you would lose about 1 pound a week. So sounds pretty simple. And if you want to gain weight, you do that in the opposite, if you try to add. So the problem people have sometimes is they think, oh, well, I saw somebody lose, some ridiculous amount of weight. Like, I tried keto. And, ketogenic diet means that you're reducing your carbohydrates significantly. So you go into what is called ketosis. And I can get into that whole for another video. It's a very complicated ordeal. But anyway, for the example, let's say somebody goes keto and they start reducing their carbohydrates by 75%. They're only consuming 25 to 50 grams of carbohydrates. And they're supplementing that with eating more fat and more protein. So most people are losing weight because they're eating less calories. So if you're eating less carbohydrates and you're eating roughly the same amount of fats or protein, or maybe even a little bit extra, you're still reducing your caloric intake, which means you're gonna lose weight. So there's no real like, oh my gosh, this is magic. So not to sell anybody, there are some really good research articles out there as to why people do a ketogenic diet, or if you have like a legit celiac disease, or you're going under chemotherapy, ketogenic diet is something that's very useful, and there's a lot of research to prove it. But for the everyday consumer, if you are not truly gluten intolerant to where it can actually, kill you, and I'm sure I'm gonna piss some people off with this, but it's fine. So today, what I want to kind of go over is just explain very briefly some different things that you can eat. The perks of If It Fits Your Macros is you essentially can eat whatever you want. Now, there's always this negative stigma that comes with If It Fits Your Macros. Everyone is just eating Pop-Tarts and ice cream and whatever crap, and that's the thing that you see on Instagram, okay? And it looks super awesome. But of course, no one's gonna post about the chicken and the vegetables that they eat every single day. For those of you who have followed me before, I kind of post a little bit of both. So, if there's some dessert that I happen to like, or, whatever it may be, I'll post that. And at the same time, I'll post the boring chicken and vegetables. I eat a lot of this stuff, okay? Frozen vegetables, and it's boring. No one cares about the vegetables you eat. They're boring, but they fill you up. They're high in fiber, and they're just, it's more overall, I can get more food eating more vegetables and still have it fit my macros versus, say, having, a cookie, whatever it may be. So let me use the analogy of your budget, okay? So most people who, my friends who are in student loans, whatever it may be, you have a budget, okay? And your calories and your macros are no different, okay? So let's say you're allocated 200 carbohydrates in a day, for example, okay? Which is a pretty decent amount. Now, eating something like frozen vegetables like I had shown you before, okay? This whole bag here has 20 grams of carbohydrates, okay? Which is about 80 calories. That's not that much. I can eat this whole bag and I would get 20 carbohydrates and I would still have 180 left, okay? That's fine. That's why people will tend to eat this stuff, because they can eat more, feel more full, and they still have more to spend later. They've budgeted, okay? Then, for example, Reese's, okay? Reese's are my favorite. I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. But here, this is 24 grams of carbohydrates, okay? So this is 24, and this whole thing is 20. And chances are you're not gonna eat this whole thing. So is there anything wrong with having a Reese's? No, eat away. But let's say you make $100,000 in a year, okay? And that's your budget for the year. And you decided to buy a $80,000 boat, okay? And that only leaves you $20,000 to pay rent, pay for your food, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not spent very wisely. And so for people who need to have this every day, go for it. People who are out there and, they need to have their soda, or, they have something that they like to eat every day. That's fine. Just put that into your budget. And so I can allow myself to have one of these, but I shouldn't have, 4 full packets, because I'll exceed my caloric intake or my carbohydrates for the day. So some other things, that's the sugar or carbohydrate use. Now let's talk about protein, okay? There's plenty of different protein sources out there, and not one is necessarily better than the other, but it kind of depends on what else you are allocated for that day for your budget. So for example, say you had a higher fat breakfast, you had some eggs, you had some bacon, and your fat's kind of running out, okay? So I probably shouldn't go out and go smash a In-N-Out, okay? So I love In-N-Out. I always get like a 3x2 animal style, okay? And so let's say I had that really hearty breakfast that had some high fats in it, and I'm not allowed to have In-N-Out that afternoon, which is not a problem, okay? So either I can, one, choose to have excess fat, or I can choose something else like tuna, okay? Super high in protein, but really low in fat, so it kind of gives me an opportunity to have the best of both worlds. Or say I want to have like a protein shake. Protein shake's another opportunity to have, low carbs, low fat, but high in protein. Or I can have something like, ground turkey, which is another example, depending on what kind of level of fat you have in it. This one I think is 7% fat, which is pretty much as low as it gets. That's something else I can have. Or the nice thing, the beauty of If It Fits Your Macros is ultimately how many calories you're consuming, okay? So say there's like a pyramid, okay? Total number of calories is like the bottom end. And then as you get to the top, it's more macros as kind of works its way up. So let's say, for example, I knew that I was allowed to eat, 2,500 calories. And I knew that if I was gonna have an In-N-Out 3x2, I was gonna exceed my fat by however many. Okay, let's say I was gonna over consume by 10 grams, which is, 90 calories. But I happen to oppose that by having less carbohydrates through the day. And so by the end of the day, I still had the total number of calories I was allowed to eat. It's okay, it kind of comes out as a wash. And so the whole point of If It Fits Your Macros is you can kind of go with the flow of things. There's no real set regimen. And if that's something that you like the freedom of being able to eat whatever you want, essentially, as long as you fit within your budget, that's a good way to go. Now, I've seen other people who have used this implement of If It Fits Your Macros, and they still did their meal prep or meal planning. And that works too. Some people, they really need that. They need that consistency. They enjoy, eating like, hey, I'm gonna eat this for lunch because I know how much is in it, and that's a good way to get started. And so if you play around with this stuff for a month or two, you kind of get to figure out like, oh, how much value is within a certain item, the differences in, being able to have, if I'm cooking with, avocado oil or, having peanut butter, these are two different options of fats that you can have. Is one better than the other? No, they're not. Ultimately, as far as energy is concerned, and if it's pertaining to your metabolism or you being able to gain weight, gain muscle, or lose weight, lose fat, whatever it may be, doesn't really matter as long as you're kind of hitting that number. Now, I know this is awfully generic, and I'm aware of this, but there are some good resources out there and some people that you can follow. There's some great YouTube accounts out there. There's some great channels that you can look at, and they can give you some more details as to how this works and how to actually implement it into your whatever your goals are. And so I have written some macro plans for some of my clients. I obviously follow it myself. It kind of allows me the freedom to do what I want and within reason, because I feel like I have a good enough self-control when I'm actually tracking my stuff to know, hey, I can have approximately this much. If I happen to go over 2 days out of my 7, but I happen to be under on 2 under, by the time a week comes around, I'm right at where I need to be and I hit my goals. I don't check my weight every single day. I check it weekly because it's, kind of a accumulation of the whole week. You can't check day to day, you'll kill yourself. Anyway, I digress on my rant. I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight into this and kind of explain how macros works. If any of you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm gonna send some links below for some different people that have some really good content out there just to kind of inform you some more. I am in no way a nutritionist. I am a physical therapist by profession and a strength coach for fun. So this is kind of within my realm. It's something that I get asked a lot. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention just to kind of see what's out there. If you like this type of video and you want me to talk some more about different nutritional styles and comparing, paleo or keto, whatever it may be, I can get into those some more. Just comment below. And if you guys have a type of, if you want to download an app to track your macros, there are 2 really good apps that you can use out there. One of them is called Myfitnesspal, which some of you have probably heard of. Myfitnesspal is really nice. I believe it's free to use the basic model, and you can track everything on there. Every food that has a barcode, you can scan it and it pops right up. The one I like to use is called MyMacros Plus. I believe it costs $2 for the app, but it allows me to pick very specifically my goals. So I have different templates of, if I'm cutting weight for a competition and I need to meet a certain standard, or if I'm in a maintenance, or if I'm trying to gain, I have a certain number that's set for me. So, and if you guys want to take this even further and really just have everything kind of planned out for you, there's a really great website called avatarnutrition.com. I'm in no way endorsing them. They don't pay me, but there's a guy that I follow named Lane Norton. He's a PhD in nutritional sciences. He wrote his dissertation on the effects of protein in protein synthesis and how to gain muscle. He has come up with a really, really amazing algorithm that goes into an online program. It's about $10 a month, and anything that puts your goals in. If you prefer eating sweets and you like carbs, if you like fats more, you can adjust for that. If you are vegan, you can adjust for that. It adjusts for how much exercise that you're doing at work and at school, you know, for your gym, your activity, whatever it may be, and it allocates specifically based on what your goals are. Losing weight, gaining weight, reverse dieting, if you're in a fitness physique or anything. All of those are different options, and it will calculate your macros for you. And if you're achieving your goals, it will automatically adjust your macros week to week based on your weigh-ins and your body fat calibration. So that's something I use, especially when I'm being a little bit more stringent for competition. I typically don't like to look at the scale because I don't really care. As long as I'm performing well and I'm enjoying myself in the gym and I don't, you know, and I feel good, I don't look at the numbers. But unfortunately, since I do compete in powerlifting, there are weight classes. So I use that when I'm being a little bit more strict, and I'm tracking my stuff more diligently. So Avatar Nutrition, I'll put a link below so you guys can send off to that and look at that if that's something you're interested in. Now that I'm done ranting about food, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity for a little giveaway. If you guys are kind of peeking, I'm wearing one of the new SmithForge shirts. I have these floral ones that I'm wearing right now, and you guys have seen my post before of the Patriotic, the America shirts. So I want to do a little giveaway. So if you guys are watching this video right now, I want you to comment below with the hashtag squats save lives. And I'll put that here, somewhere here. And I'll post on Instagram so you guys can watch. So hopefully you guys have watched till the end. If you guys are already following me, you're good. If not, hopefully you guys can subscribe, and we'll give that away. So I'll be picking a random person by the end of the week, and I'll send you guys out a shirt. And thanks you guys for watching. I appreciate all of you who have been following me this far. If you have any suggestions pertaining to, you know, any type of stuff you want me to talk about during my videos, or if you like seeing certain things, if you want me to vlog more, if you want me to do more product review, I'm open to feedback. So this is kind of new, and it's supposed to be kind of a fun little project, and so I hope you guys are enjoying it, and it's at the very least entertaining. So thank you again for following, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.